all of these wonderful people that we have lined up for you. But before we start, I would like to pay my respects to the First Nations custodians of this land, and by acknowledging that this event is being held on the traditional lands of the Indigenous people of Southern Africa. We pay our respects to our elders past, present, and future, and we pay our respect to our ancient connections to land, sea, and community. Sida gera tswatswa. We are beginning. Tita ge amibahe hage barataken. My Khoisan name is Mibahe Hage Barataken. Mibahe, the one who was told, Hage, the one who came, and Barataken on the pathway of the horses. So with that, I would like to invite the opening and the event today, opening of the Cosmic Echoes exhibition, of which I am also the curator, is being hosted at Saltpike University by the Humanities faculty. So I would like to invite the Dean of the Humanities faculty, Professor Russell Full-Yun, to take us further.
Dumalang, good morning, Moweni, goeiemorgen. Ladies and gentlemen and honored guests, I would like to acknowledge Queen Katrina Is, and Acting Vice Chancellor Professor Meyer. I am delighted to bid all present here today a warm and hearty welcome to Saltpike University and to the opening and launch of Cosmic Echoes, a shared sky Indigenous art exhibition. The opening of this art exhibition today intentionally coincides with the commemoration of National Women's Day, when thousands of women of diverse backgrounds marched to the Union buildings in Pretoria to protest the pass laws and carrying of passes by Black South Africans. As we commemorate that day, 9th August 1956, may I take this opportunity to wish all women present here today a happy and blessed Women's Day. On that note, I am honored to introduce to you another remarkable woman and academic in Professor Deborah Meyer, who will shortly deliver the official opening and welcome address of the special art exhibition. Professor Deborah Meyer is Acting Vice Chancellor and also Vice Chancellor Designate of Saltpike University. She holds a PhD in biochemistry and molecular biology from the University of California, Davis in the United States, and a master's degree in biochemistry from the Rand Afrikaans University in South Africa. Prior to joining SPU, Professor Meyer served as an executive dean of the Faculty of Science at the University of Johannesburg. A publication track record records over 100 items in HIV/AIDS research, wherein she also trained more than 35 master's and PhD students, primarily women. She is a non-executive director and trustee of a number of organizations and completed leadership and strategy training at Harvard Business School and University of Pretoria's Gordon Institute of Business Science. Professor Meyer is a social rights activists focus on improve the rights of women, respect for diversity, multilingualism, and multiculturalism in South Africa. She has received numerous awards for achievements in science and social impact, including the NRFTW Kambule, the Oppenheimer Trust, and the Fulbright Awards, as well as Women of Prestige Award from the Port and the City Press. Thank you, Professor Meyer. Come take the podium. Thank you.
Good morning. Now I'm too tall for this thing. I don't need the step, but all right. The assumption is always women don't need a step and need help, when today should be evidence that we don't. We actually offer help. It's a privilege for me to welcome you all to the Cosmic Echoes Shared Sky Indigenous Art Exhibition. Saltpike University, in partnership with the Square Kilometre Array Observatory, the South African Radio Astronomy Observatory, and the Australian National Science Agency invites you to the Kimberley opening of the Cosmic Echoes exhibition. Cosmic Echoes most commonly alludes to the collaboration of science and art and explores the intersection of Indigenous knowledge of the night sky and modern astronomy, highlighting how traditional interpretations of the skies resonates in contemporary art. Cosmic echoes can also be used to describe the lasting impact of events or ideas, or the interconnectedness of the universe and its inhabitants. In this exhibition, Australian and South African Indigenous artists explore creativity at the intersection of modern science and ancient wisdom. Celebrating Indigenous art foregrounds elders as keepers of knowledge, storytellers, custodians of language, and teachers of technique. At Salt Lake University, where Indigenous languages, cultures, and heritage is a key focus of research, teaching, and learning, at our university, where these things are of primary importance, it makes sense then that we are part of this exhibition. The exhibition's goals aligns very well with our mission and vision, which is premised on social justice. Recognition of Indigenous cultures, recognition of elders, as is done today, is a core component of social justice. Launching the exhibition on Women's Day, which this year falls on the last day of the National Science Week, also allows us the opportunity to remember and recognize the contributions of women in science and art. Indigenous women, who are artists and scientists, contribute to society in deeply interwoven ways. Their work, blending traditional knowledge with modern inquiry, enriching culture, science, education, and policy. They steward languages, preserve traditional crafts, and advance disciplines. By foregrounding community-led research and fair benefit sharing, they help ensure that innovation serves local needs and futures. Through mentorship, representation, and culturally grounded education, Women in Leadership inspires youth and challenges stereotypes, reflecting Ubuntu in action and strengthening South Africa's justice-centered path to inclusive development. The ethos of the exhibition, I am told, is Indigenous people exploring creativity at the intersection of modern science and ancient wisdom. And on that basis, we welcome Her Excellency, Dr. Oma Katrina Esau, who epitomizes this ethos. We also salute the artist and recognize that most of the South African Indigenous artists who have produced work for the Cosmic Echoes exhibition are from the Northern Cape. Their work will tour the world after it leaves Kimberley. Welcome one and all. Deciding to be here today demonstrates your understanding of the importance of remembering where we've come from to ensure a better future going forward. I welcome you, and I look forward to the discussions and talks we will listen to today, because I'm sure it will enrich all of us and make it worthwhile to have spent your Saturday in such an activity. Welcome, Oma Katrina and your family. We really appreciate the long distance you drove to be at Salt Lake University. It's an absolute pleasure for us to have you here, and we look forward to continued associations, and I'll give more comments on that a little bit later on. Welcome, everyone. We really appreciate you participating.
Today is a very special day for the Cosmic Echoes exhibition, because not only are we opening it in the Northern Cape, which we consider to be the home of this exhibition, but when we devised this exhibition just about a year ago, we had, as Prof. Meyer has said, artists mainly from the Northern Cape, from Kimberley, from Victoria West, from Carnarvon, Uppington, and all of the artists, the South African artists working on this exhibition, are all Khoisan people. and the Australian artists are Aboriginal people. And the one thing that we all have in common is that these artists in Australia and South Africa live in the vicinity of the SKA project where these telescopes are being built. And so when we started this process of this exhibition, as I said a year ago, Junior Olifant, who is a Kimberley-based artist, Young Sasol Artist of the Year awardee, was part of that, has been part of that, and is here with us today. I don't think he knew that this exhibition is going to have an opening on Women's Day with Oma Katrina when he did that portrait that you're seeing there in front. So thank you to Junior for seeing so far. The process started with the vision that the SKA had 10 years ago when they had a shared sky art exhibition between Indigenous artists from South Africa and Aboriginal artists from Australia. This exhibition, where the process which was started a year ago, was a follow-up to that. And in order to do that, we didn't just go and pick artists, we picked partners instead. We partnered already. SARAO and the SKA are major partners on this project. But to produce the exhibition, we partnered with the Carnarvon High School in Carnarvon, and they helped us to source young people from the area. The idea was that we don't just have senior artists on this exhibition, that we have young artists, that we have school learners, we have emerging artists, and then we have, people who are in between established artists and are beginning their careers. And the process we designed was, we had a series of workshops where we had senior professional artists, visual artists, musicians, performance artists coming to work with myself as the lead facilitator with these young people, with everybody. And some of the works that you will see on the exhibition are done by the senior artists, and some of the works are done by the youth artists, and some of the works are done by the youth and the seniors getting together. And in that spirit, we also did a follow-up in Carnarvon after the opening in Cape Town, where we got elders and youth together to work on an outreach program connected to this exhibition. So the exhibition opened in August last year at the General Assembly of the International Astronomical Union. And we've had amazing visitors to the exhibition. One of the people who came to see the exhibition at the opening was Dr. Mae Jamison, who's the first Black woman in space, NASA astronaut, and she raved about it. So already before it has left South Africa, the exhibition has had quite a wide influence. From that opening of the IAU, it moved to Artscape in Cape Town, where the Australian High Commissioner made a special trip to Cape Town to come and see the exhibition. And then we went to Carnarvon to do not just an opening of the exhibition, but an outreach into the community where, as I said, we brought youth and elders together. But today, this opening at Solplaatje is very, very special for us for all of the reasons that I outlined in the beginning. And as Prof. Meyer has said, it is a nexus. It represents a nexus of art and science, creativity and inquiry, scholastic inquiry, and bringing together the ancient understanding that our ancestors have had about the heavens, and how we inspired the young artists and the senior artists to do the work that they've done was we showed them some of the stories and poems and accounts out of the archives about their ancestors. Not one of those kids that we worked with in Carnarvon had ever been to a rock art site. So we took them to the rock art site in Vosburg, and you could see that this new understanding of who they are, of the richness of their heritage, really changed the way they saw themselves. And the art that they produced will show you, as you walk around the exhibition, how they viewed themselves as young people who are connected to an ancient and rich and wondrous past and amazing heritage. So enjoy the exhibition. It is in 8 chapters, and as you walk through it, you will see the information posted so to guide you through the chapters with the numbers. We've tried to keep the numbers sequential, but it's the first time we've had to hang this exhibition without the benefit of walls and nails. And thank you to the Solplaatje people for coming up with such innovative solutions and hanging it on the wire fencing that was provided so generously by the staff here. Has helped us to kind of rethink. Not everything is happening in straight lines and nice geometry. Life is a mess, and so artistry is not orderly, and it has helped us to connect with that aspect of the artistry. And so we've added some mpepu to get that feeling of the fact that this art is also deeply rooted in our landscape and in our physical landscape, but in our inner spiritual landscape. So enjoy. I was going to introduce Dr. Lindsay, Dr. Lindsay Magnus, who is the SCAR Mid Telescope Director for the SKA.
Thank you, Sylvia. So firstly, Your Excellency Omar, Katrina, it's really great to have you here. I think as an organization, and just for context, we're the international face of this project. So we are effectively an organization of 16 different countries that share the vision of building the next generation radio telescopes. So with these kinds of telescopes, we're going to see things in our universe that we've never been able to see before. And so what that means is that here in the Northern Cape, on your doorstep, we're going to unlock the understanding of the universe. And that's a really great opportunity for all of us. But we can't do it without recognizing where we're doing it and with whom we are doing it. And that's why projects like this are so important to us as an organization. We could be very blinkered and focused on our role as just building a radio telescope. That's what we do. We train astronomers, we train engineers, and that's our job. But the vision and foresight of the organization has been supported by all the international members to acknowledge and truly embrace the culture and heritage that is represented on the sites. And so it is really beautiful to be here and share this time with you. I've been fortunate enough to have been at all the previous exhibitions, and it is amazing to every time I walk past these pieces, a different piece tells me a slightly different story. So as Sylvia was saying, the first time we exhibited this exhibition was at the International Astronomy Union's General Assembly. And so we had 2,000 odd international astronomers come to Cape Town to share their research and share their findings. And so this is almost like the World Cup of astronomy, and it was held in Cape Town last year. And this exhibition was one of the parts of that. The other great thing about that week was it also happened to fall on Women's Day. And on that day, we held an SKA-themed workshop where it turned out that every single presenter for the whole day were all women presenting their research and their vision of what they're going to do with this radio telescope. One of the comments that struck me was that in so many conversations, this thought of how do we engage women is always seen as a difficulty. How do we encourage women? What's the challenge? How do we get out there and do this? And one of the comments was, see, if you just put in the effort, it can be done. And that's the challenge that I want to leave with us all today, is that the inspiration that we get from these works, the inspiration and the connection with our culture can't just be something that is a to-do on a list or something like that. You need to actively embrace how you make those engagements. And if you do, you can achieve anything. And the history of our communities, the histories of our cultures have shown, and especially the strength of women together, how anything can be achieved. And so it is a great honor for me to be part of this project and to be in some way a custodian of the future generations of not only astronomers and scientists, but artists and cultural identities that are going to live for a long time. So thank you very much, everybody, and thank you for the time.
Thanks, Dr. Lindsay Magnus. As we were saying earlier, this huge project on your doorstep here in Carnarvon is a collaboration between the SKA Observatory and the South African Radio Astronomy Observatory, SARAO. And next we're going to hear from the Manager of Stakeholder Relations at SARAO, Ms. Nomfundo Makubo.
Good morning, everyone. Now, I don't know if I should stand behind the podium or what should I do. So my name is Nomfundo Makubo. I'm the Stakeholder Relations for the South African Radio Astronomy Observatory. And I have the great, great, great pleasure of saying that in this great science endeavor, which is really the coolest by all measures, really in terms of science, engineering, technology, science project on the planet at the moment, that I get to work with the people. The people, you know. So that is the pleasure that I have. And someone may ask, well, perhaps I should greet first. Oma Katrina, it's an absolute honor. Dis 'n eer vir ons om hier te wees. Vir my om in u midde te wees, you know, to say one day as ek oud en grys is, vir my kleinkinders te sê, I lived and worked at the time of Oma Katrina. So a special, special greeting to you. And an appreciation for all that you've done, you know, through the years, in collaboration, in fact, with SARAO and the project Vice Chancellor and everyone that's here, all protocol. Now I can go back. So one might ask, and I think Lindsay has peeped at some of my notes and know what I was going to say, but what would a radio astronomy observatory be? Why is it interested in Cosmic Echoes exhibition? Why is it interested in talking about people? Why would it go as far as having offices that, you know, deal with just the people aspect? Why does it care about culture? Why does it care about development of people? And it is that because since the inception of the project and the work that has gone on for about 20 years now, it was very well understood that we're not just studying space, but it was also about the place. It was about the people that have lived here before, that actually in our endeavor to build astronomy instruments that look into the future, that, you know, and the past as well, and that are looking at groundbreaking science, that actually this science was already the business of the day for the people of the past. Indigenous astronomy was always there. You know, it was always used for different things, for measuring cycles, for agriculture, for women's reproductive systems, and all manner of things that, you know, existed in the lives of people that were here before us. And that is why we're interested in this, to say, at the center of what it is that we do, and this is reflected even in policy in terms of science and innovation in South Africa and so forth, the issue of humans at the center and of human capacity development was always central to the mission of the South African Radio Astronomy Observatory and the many names that we were before. It was always at the center. And so to this effort, there's a lot of things that we've done, and this exhibition is just part of that. You know, as part of developing human capacity, we've really, as an observatory, South African Radio Astronomy Observatory, and now as well in partnership with the SKO, have really taken huge steps to invest in human capacity development. There are people here that are sitting, I'm sure, that are part of our bursary programs. We currently have about 12 students that are here at SOPLIKE registered, and that form part of a broader network of about 1,500 odd bursaries that we've given to ensure that we build our own timber and ensure that when that telescope is built and is doing science, that the people who've built it actually come from this community. When the project started, again, very many years ago, some of us were maybe or maybe not born. There were about 5 astronomers that you could count, one of them who's also sitting in the room who just spoke. Now we're sitting at 300 plus. And that is the value of investment in human capacity that comes with projects like this. And it's something that really, again, was at the center of everything. My job, again, focuses mostly on the local communities. So how this has been illustrated for local communities is that, you know, we've been so committed to that we have projects that are ring-fenced only for the local communities in which we work, predominantly 4 towns, Carnarvon, Brandvlei, Williston, and Van Wyksvlei, and the artists, some of the artists that produce this art also come from there. But there we have, again, robust programs that focus on ECD up to postdoc support for human capacity. And that is something that really is at the heart of what we do, and you know, what we really care about, of just bringing the human aspect of people along with us. Today is Women's Day, so that's why I'm extra nervous. But I just wanted to say that, you know, there's a lot that I can talk about. You know, it could be the whole day about all the things that we do. But when I thought about what is at the center of that, you know, why are we here? What brings us here? Why we care? The work that Sylvia is doing, the work that Oma Katrina has done throughout her lifetime, the work that the artists have done, the work that the university has done and continues to do in terms of knowledge preservation. And then, you know, as I was sitting, I was thinking about a song from India Ari that says, actually, this is the name of the song is We Are, so when you do get time, please do listen to it. But all of this is really that this is the proof of life that our ancestors gave. We are that. And all of it that is good that we're doing is proof and expression of that in our art, in our knowledge, in our science, in our papers, in our speaking, in our dress, in the way we treat one another, in the observatory, in the science that the telescope is going to produce and the meerkat is also producing. It's that. It's the result of the sacrifice that they made. It's the result of all the hardships and all the goodness that they did thousands of years ago when the Khoi and the San were walking this land. We are the product of all of that. And as women especially, again, this applies to us today. So thank you very much. I do want to say a special thank you, VC. I must brag. We have people from your team. We work very closely with a lot of people from this university in the robotics program. I want to brag with Dr. Dimpo Matibi from Mutiwistad, who comes to our schools in the schools in Carnarvon, in Brandvlei, in Williston, Van Wyksvlei. They come and they tell people about this great university in our own hometown. So I want to brag and say the collaboration will continue. It is in the heart of our managing director, it's in the heart of our leadership that we continue to improve this community as the entire Northern Cape in partnership. So thank you very much.
And now we bring back the Vice-Chancellor and Principal of Salt Lake University, Prof. Deborah Meyer, for a very special part of the program.
Thank you. I want. So thank you very much. Our program is moving swiftly. I see everybody's paying attention to time. We know we shouldn't take chances with a Saturday, right? We still have grocery shopping and all of that, so we'll make sure everybody gets an opportunity to enjoy the exhibition without disrupting your day, so that we know you'll come back the next time we have the follow-up exhibition. It's my privilege, and actually the main reason why I came is to give recognition to Oma Katrina today. Oma Katrina Esau's life is captured in a documentary called Language of My Soul. There is a book written about her wherein she is called a golden girl. She has received numerous accolades and recognition for being a language and culture activist from many organizations and institutions. For example, an award from PANSALB in 2012, the Boabab Presidential Order in Silver, along with the Heritage Education Award from the National Heritage Council in 2017, and most recently in 2023, Oma Katrina received an honorary doctorate from the University of Cape Town. She is an author and a linguist, a mother, grandmother, a humanitarian. She is featured in articles and reports on TV, radio, in magazines and newspapers. And why she is honored is for being the last fluent speaker of South Africa's oldest language and making an effort to make sure the language remains behind. She teaches this language from directly opposite her house. So those of you who are much younger than Oma Katrina, you should be ashamed of yourself if you don't have a project of passion. So learn from that and make sure you use every moment you're given to be on this planet, to be a difference and make a difference for other people. Oma Katrina's life has shown this country and the world what colonization and apartheid has taken away from Indigenous people and the indescribable pain caused. But more importantly, she has and continues to show what the courage to fight back looks like. Oma Katrina was born and bred in the Northern Cape on a farm near Olifantshoek in the Southern Kalahari, and it is only fitting that the first and only university in the Northern Cape, Saul Plaatje University, honors a living legend from the Northern Cape. It is only fitting that a post-apartheid university honors a post-apartheid legend like Oma Katrina. Oma Katrina, we thank you, baie dankie, for being a woman of substance whose passion for identity and preservation of the ancient language of the Komani San speaks truth to power. You are, in the words of Maya Angelou, a phenomenal woman who remains anchored to your culture while embracing technology and education to preserve your people's language. You are a woman of proverbs, 'n deegsame vrou met waarde ver bo korale, wat jou lende omgord met krag en jou arm stewig hou. Jou lamp gaan nie dood nie, jy is met sterkte en eer gekleed en jy maak jou mond oop met wysheid en vriendelike onderrigting, is op jou tong. Oma Katrina, baie dogters het hulle knap gedra, maar jy oortref hulle almal. For the audience, if you don't speak Afrikaans, I was paraphrasing from Proverbs 31, verse 10 to 31. So if you don't know the proverb anymore, please go back to your Bible and go and read it. And for the women, Women's Day tells you where you should be aiming. Be a deegsame vrou soos Oma Katrina. I personally hope, Oma Katrina, that your second honorary doctorate will come from Saul Plaatje University. There's not enough words for us to tell you how much you mean to us. I don't have my mom alive anymore, but you remind me of my mother, you remind me of my grandmother, you remind me of my great-grandmother. And the love I have for them, I have to pass on to Oma Katrina. And thank you. My heritage, 50% of my heritage is Khoisan. It's the one I embrace more than anything else. And I am really grateful to have examples like you to look up to. Baie dankie, Nyabonga, ons waardeer jou. We have a small token of appreciation. And I'm not sure if SARAO will also be giving it.
Ek was gesê, Oma Katrina gaan so 'n paar woorde sê. Is dit reg? Wil Oma Katrina iets sê? Asseblief. Okay. Kom vorentoe. Gangans. Keiser Gangans.
Voordat ek groet, vat eers die kombers. Vat die mes daar. Mense moet dan sien ek het 'n rok aan. Ek hang hier kombers om my. Hondjie, hondjie. Goeiemôre. Almal. wat ek eens kan noem. Ek kan net sê juffrou, meneer. Maar die leiers hier so en dokters, ek sê ook dokters, maar die leiers hier se name, verskoon julle my tog, julle weet ek kom deur die gras uit. En ek vanmorgen sê ek vir almal, ek groet hulle vanmorgen almal, in die naam van die Here. En ek waardeer julle ook. En ek is ook dankbaar dat ek vir julle vanmorgen op hierdie dag gesien het. Ek ken nie, ja die sisters, is 'n paar wat ek gesigte ken. Maar die ander, nie. Net soos julle wil vir my sien, so wil ek ook graag vir julle gesien het. En ek is dankbaar vir die wat julle vir my genooi het, hier tot hier, op hierdie dag, dat ek hier op hierdie skool is. Ek het begeerte, maar my geerte het gewerk. Begeerte gehad om ook hier te wees. Ek sê ook, ek wil ook daar by die skool uitkom. Maar ek kom nie so ver uit nie. Maar ek is dankbaar, meneer en juffroue en leiers, almal dokters en almal kinders, julle almal saamgestaan het en my genooi het. Tot hier toe ek en hierdie twee kinders. Oh, yes, julle 3. Oh ja. As by oud, ek kan ook nie my kinders meer tel nie. My mense, ek is dankbaar. Ek is baie dankbaar. Dat ek daardie een gekom het tot hier. Ek is bevoorreg om vir julle vanmorgen te ken. Ek is bevoorreg om vanmorgen vir julle te luister. En dankie wat julle vir my doen. Dankie. Mag die Here julle seën. En mag die Here hierdie skool so seën, dat alle kinders verlang om hier te wees, sodat hulle hierdie leerings kan kry. Ek gaan aan met die goeie werk, meneer en juffroue, gaan julle aan met die goeie werk. Ek gaan aan met hierdie werk wat ek aan, solank ek lewe, het ek gebesluit, ek wil die taal praat. Nou, ek wil net so bietjie, ek wil net dat julle groet, dat julle ook kan groet, as julle weer vir my sien. Hoenkia, die groet. Hoenkia, gake kaba.
Na kaba.
Nou, goeiemôre, gaan dit goed met jou? Dankie my mense, ek wil nie so baie praat, van as die kinders staan achter my, hulle het 'n uistertjie wat hulle hier mee druk. Hulle staan en maak hom, as hulle hou hom weer, daar draai hulle hom weer. Maar ek wil toch net, juffrou en meneer, net so kort koortjie sing. In die taal. Nou maar ons o, mens kan hier neersit. Dan vat jy alles stem. O, juffrou. loves only you.
Angce,
Angce,
oh,
Queen,
oh,
Queen, nou sing ek hom nog so Engels ook bietjie in. En ek ken nie Engels nie. Baie dankie juffrou meneer.
Gangans, Keizer Gangans. En om verder dankie te sê, Melissa Kentani from SARAO will be presenting Oma with something.
Thank you very much. Nomfundo had already touched on the heart that SARAO has for the heritage of the people of South Africa. And when we were told that we would also have the opportunity to honor Oma Katrina, we had to also step up. So on behalf of the South African Radio Astronomy Observatory, and of course our partners, the SKAO, Dr. Lindsay Magnus and myself would like to present Oma firstly with this image of one of our telescopes. We have 64 telescopes on site, and this is just one of our beautiful telescopes that SARAO and SKAO are building. This one is the Meerkat image, which is a South African-built telescope. When we have our open days, we do encourage you to also come visit. Oma, ons sê baie dankie. Baie dankie. My Afrikaans is nie baie goed nie, maar ek probeer. So, baie dankie. Thank you so much for the role you have played for the people of the Northern Cape, as well as the recognition we receive as South Africans in preserving our heritage. So, thank you very much, Lindsay.
En I'm going to try some Afrikaans. So Oma, as ek by my ouma gaan kuier, dan moet ek altyd ietsie lekker soet saamvat. En so hopelik geniet ouma lekker soet goed. Baie dankie ouma en baie dankie vir alles.
I think that is a hard act to follow, and everybody's feeling very warm and emotional. Dis so 'n goeie gevoel om hier te wees, en dankie vir die inspirasie, Oma Katrina, en dankie vir al die pad gekom, en dankie vir die werk wat so aanhoudend is, en dankie vir die uithou vermoë. En vir die van julle wat ek weet nie, Oma Katrina bly in Appington. So sy het gister pad gevat en gery al die pad van Appington toe om hier by ons te wees vanoggend, en ons waardeer dit vreeslik baie. The next part of our program is going to move into a discussion that will contextualize a lot of what we are doing here today and what this event is all about. The moderator of the discussion is Melissa Kentani, and I'm going to hand over to her to introduce herself properly and also to start the panel discussion.
Thank you. Yeah, it's on. Thank you very much for that, Sylvia. Dumelang sanbonani molweni. Goeiemôre. How is everybody doing? Yeah, let's get some energy. We are in a university. This place is full of young people, so I'm expecting a little bit of energy, a little more enthusiasm as we celebrate Women's Day, National Science Week, as well as honor Oma Katrina. So let's That is exactly it. So my name is Melissa Kentane, as indicated, and I will be facilitating the moderation, or rather moderating the panel discussion this afternoon, or rather this morning. And I am not alone, so I would like to request if the ladies who are on the panel could all join us. I don't know if Lesigo is here. Thank you very much. Let's give her a round of applause. Are you mic'd up, Lesigo? If you can sit right over here, this chair next to Sylvia. Thank you very much. If we can, if she's not mic'd up, if you could please mic up Lesigo so that you can hold on to yours, Sylvia. It will make it much easier. And then lastly, I just want to double check, is Ponzo online and available? Great stuff. As we check on our online panelists, I just want to kick this off with a short intro around why it is that we're here and why we're having this discussion. So the VC had touched that this is the last day of the National Science Week. So National Science Week, which is led by the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation, is something held every year in South Africa to drive conversation and engagement around science. And this is really to demystify science, because we think it's this thing in the clouds that not everyone can do. And this year's theme is Science is for Everyone. Science is in everything, it is everywhere. And therefore, it is for everyone. It is for all of us to understand and to engage with. So I want us to kick us off with that, and it is very important that we have this conversation around Women's Day, because with all the strides we have made in transformation and bringing equal access for women into historically male-dominated industries, there's still a lot of work for us to do. There's still a lot of pushing and grinding we have to do. You get from an education level, you get it at an industry level, we still need to push and grind. So I felt that we really needed to gather as women, because we're brilliant at having conversations, we're brilliant at storytelling, we're brilliant at turning fiction into fact, but we're also good at telling stories about facts and making them entertaining. So I just wanted to just really double check, is Ponzo with us online, and can you hear us, Ponzo?
I am online. I can't hear you very well. I could hear the previous speakers, but I can't really hear you.
Okay.
The sound is very low.
Okay, so my sound is very low online, so if we can just get that fixed. I'm not going to steal Sylvia's mic, because I'm sure you need it quite more than I do. So let's quickly get... Okay, great stuff. So what I'm going to do is, I was initially going to introduce my panelists, but I'm actually going to ask them to introduce themselves so that they actually tell their own story. Maybe just 2 minutes of introductions. I will start with you, Ponzo, because you are online. Ponzo is the managing director of the South African Radio Astronomy Observatory. So if you could introduce yourself, Ponzo, just 2 minutes of who you are.
I lost sound at the end, but maybe I'll just go ahead. So my name is Bonso Marupi. The Managing Director of the South African Radio Astronomy Observatory. I'm so sorry that I'm not there with you today. I really would have loved to be. I had a bit of a misunderstanding with my alarm clock this morning, and unfortunately missed the only flight to Kimberley. from Cape Town. So I took over as the managing director from Dr. Rob Aram about 3 years ago. I have been to the university before, and we've engaged on creating a partnership going forward, and I'm really looking forward to starting that relationship and enhancing it beyond where it is at the moment.
Thank you very much, Bonzo. Next up, we have got Lesego.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Dumelang, goeiemorgen. My name is Lesego Betha Khatitswe. I am a sociology lecturer here at Salt Lake University. I was born and grew up in Naledi in Soweto, 1986. I grew up there and then went to primary school in Reboni. I think I want to make it not just professionally, but also personal in terms of my biography. And then later went to the National School of Arts. I was always interested in the arts, in drama. So I matriculated at the National School of Arts. And what's interesting about there is that it's the mainstream subjects, the maths and the science, but also the arts, dance, visual arts, drama, and music. And then after that, I worked as a drama facilitator at Creative Voices, actually conducting workshops for teachers, educators for arts and culture. So at the time, arts and culture was just introduced. Ooh, it's too long. Okay, so that's that. And then I went to Rhodes. I did my BA degree there and honors in drama and sociology, then moved to Wits where I did my master's in health sociology, and then worked at various research institutes before joining Salt Lake University. Thank you.
Thank you. Sylvia?
It says, Titage amibahe hage barataken. I think it's important that we bring our ancestry with us and not just be in the present. I am the curator of the exhibition, as I've said, but I'm also a filmmaker and a playwright and author of creative nonfiction, all of this around being a heritage practitioner. So all of my work deals with our neglected and contested histories, especially the history of the Khoisan people.
Thank you very much, Sylvia. So I think let's get right into the crux of things. When we opened this conversation, I really spoke about the male-dominated, I think, science space that I think a lot of these conversations during National Science Week are about in making science more accessible. Now, we're going to have a conversation around science, we're going to have it around the arts, we're going to have it a bit around heritage, because it is a melting pot of a lot of sectors that have to intersect and cross-pollinate with each other in order for us to be able to function as humanity. So I'm going to kick it off with you, Bonzo, and I'm not sure if she's still up online. You are the MD of SARAO. Now that is, I mean, astronomy is an industry that has been male-dominated. We recently attended awards together, and I was saying the stage was so full of men, and where are we seeing the women, and where are your people of color, et cetera, as we start having these conversations. As a woman leading in a sector, very difficult space, which is male-dominated, how has this shaped the person you have become? And how would you advise the women who are entering the space and industry to channel and almost chart and forge their way ahead?
I didn't introduce myself fully because I was trying to save time, but I come from a generation of very strong women, I must say. We still have literally 4 generations of women that exist in my family. And I've always only worked in male-dominated environments. So I think that, being an engineer, started working in the mining sector, I think that genuinely have never known any other work environment except being surrounded primarily by men. And I do find that, in the beginning it's really difficult, but I think that, once you anchor yourself in terms of being owning the space, that it generally becomes a little easier. The only advice really I would give to young women, especially to say yes more than they say no. I do think that generally women are very hesitant to take on spaces and often doubt their ability to do a whole lot of things that seem difficult. I found that every time I've said yes to opportunities, that it's actually made me grow, made me braver to tackle even more difficult spaces than before. And then the second key is really just to continue working as hard as possible. The one thing I do feel sometimes is that as women, sometimes we get the sense that you must behave like the men to fit in, and I would emphasize the need to stay true to yourself. You can only be 100% of yourself. You can never be 100 or even a small percentage of who you are not. If there's only 2 things that I would give as advice, is those 2 things. Say yes and remain yourself. Do not feel that you need to change who you are to fit in any environment that you end up in.
Thank you very much for that, Bon. So just spinning off on that question, you're talking about remaining true to yourself. And a lot of that speaks to your environment, your culture, your heritage, how you're groomed, how you're brought up. And we keep talking about science is for everyone. Now, this does not speak just to your skills and your capacity. This speaks, obviously, to your ability to access information and infrastructure. But this also speaks to language at times. We've been having conversations without knowing we're having conversations around language and heritage, because in South Africa we speak so many different languages and we're struggling to communicate with each other. And as we're having these conversations, I'd like us to really touch on the issue of language barrier. How do we bring back the languages of our ancestors and of our heritage into the science and technology global environmental space in which we operate? Because language becomes very important in people's ability to understand, but also in our ability to advance. And you'll find a lot of some of the nations that are successful. We were having this conversation around China, for instance, where they go to schools and they're taught in Chinese, yet they remain successful. Where has South Africa lost it? And how do we actually get ourselves back and get our languages back into the curriculum? Maybe Lesego, because you are in the education system as well, you can touch on that. But I think Sylvia, as well as someone who deals a lot with heritage, we can also have that conversation around science and heritage. But I want to start with you, Lesego.
Okay, so I believe in the decolonial project, and part of the decolonial project speaks to knowledge systems, and it also speaks to languages, because we need to make education accessible to everyone, and language does become a barrier. So even though it's going to take a very long time to have the curriculum in the various languages, African languages, things like multilingual teaching. We had recently a workshop in my faculty of multilingual teaching and learning. And those type of interventions is things that we can use in the classroom, in the lectures, where we don't have to just use English, but also making attempts to translate a lot of the text into African languages, even if it's not all extensively. We could start with mini dictionaries, but what's also important is about creating knowledge in African languages. So we have an international conference actually this month, and the theme is intellectualization of African languages. So it's about creating knowledge in our African languages. So one of the scholars, Babalwa Makokana, she speaks about umakhulu. And in her writing, she doesn't translate the idea of umakhulu, which is a grandmother. And the grandmother as an institution of knowledge, the fact that our grandmothers are the ones that tell us these stories. They are the ones that teach us our mother tongues. They're the ones that teach us about values and morals and to be human, to be good contributing citizens. So I think language we need to think more broadly about it, not just in terms of the text, but in terms of our engagements, in terms of teaching and learning, and various ways in which we could make education accessible, and also having a more asset capabilities approach towards teaching and learning, not just focusing on the deficit of the students to say that they are not able to maybe understand the English language, but in which ways can they bring their experiences, the knowledges into the classroom in order to make it accessible and in order to enrich and as well create that knowledge.
Thank you, thank you. Sylvia, as you go into the heritage and really how we can bring that back, I'd also like you to touch a bit on, when we're talking about language, art is a language. It's a language, it's a way, it's a form of expressing ourselves. So if you can also bring that in on the impact of science on art, and probably art on sciences as well, as you dovetail off the engagement and the heritage that we want to bring into our science engagement platforms.
Thank you, Melissa. I said earlier that we inspired the artists on this exhibition by showing them the poetry, the folkloric stories contained in the archive, but we also showed them the amazing images that are coming out from the up-to-date telescopes around the world. Sorry. The James Webb, the Hubble telescope, all of these are sending images about the universe that have not been seen before, and that young people and the artists that we work with had not really taken the time to follow. So when they put together what the scientists are seeing with the modern equipment, and we put them in touch with the ancient stories that their ancestors have been telling about the stars, it just opened up a whole creative sphere for them. But then just two things I'd like to mention on the issue of language. And the one is the people identified and classified as colored by apartheid have lost more than just their languages. We have lost a way of being in the world. And it struck me really profoundly when I was doing research for my book, and I came across just one word in the Kham language, which was the language of the people of the Northern Cape, which has since become extinct. And this word was khao. Khao means to shoot with a magical arrow or go on a magical expedition. Now, when you take that concept of going on a magical expedition or shooting with a magical arrow, there's nothing to be found in English or Afrikaans that even compares, and that's just one word. So think of when we lost whole languages, we lost a way of expressing ourselves in the world and being ourselves in the world. But then just to end off with what Melissa was saying, we cannot remedy, we cannot go back and bring all of those things that we've lost, but we have art. South Africa has been blessed with the most amazing artists, and art, as Melissa says, is a language. So on this exhibition, we are telling stories because language is way beyond words. And artists are telling stories with visual art, with performance art, with music, but they're also telling stories with intuitive perception. And intuitive perception is way, way beyond words. Many years ago, I fell seriously ill and spent thousands and thousands on all kinds of specialists in medicine, and finally had to go to a Sangoma and realized that my ancestors were speaking to me and there was something that I had to do. And those doors, those intuitive, perceptive doors, we've closed up when we enter modern scholastic institutions. And we have to go back and look at our institutions so that we can explore African ways of knowing, African ways of understanding the world, and African ways of communication that deals with something a lot more sophisticated than language.
Sure. That is a painful, I think, conversation and a painful thought, because when you lose your roots and you become so uprooted that your entire language, and I'm going to say that your spoken language, gets wiped out, there's so much knowledge that gets lost. As you said, there aren't enough words in some of our more Western languages that can truly express what we say. I often find myself in that conundrum when I'm speaking in Xhosa and I have to explain what I'm trying to say in English, and it takes you an entire sentence to explain what that one word means. And so you kind of have that struggle, but that means we also lose a lot of that indigenous knowledge. And so what's very important, and Ponzo, I'm going to bring this to you. So in which ways is the modern science industry, I'm going to say, bringing back or integrating with indigenous science? Because science was there before there was the modern world. It wasn't called science, but it was science when you look at it. So how are we bringing the indigenous knowledge into the current and the modern science industry as we know it?
Firstly, maybe let me say that, I mean, the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation has a specific program around indigenous knowledge systems. I think there's always been an intention to ensure that we are able to set up systems that capture and make available indigenous knowledge as part of enriching whatever other science we do. And I think the program's been running for quite some time now, including trying to capture, for instance, the knowledge around medicinal plants, ensuring that people who have used this knowledge before benefit from whatever gets commercialized out of those endeavors. And I think that we need to continue doing that as much as possible. I'll give you an example of a program that we have run with in partnership with the Department of Tourism, where we took young people from the communities in the Northern Cape, in particular in the areas where we operate, to trained as astro guides. And the program itself enables them not only to offer visitors to Carnarvon or Williston an ability to do stargazing, because they have telescopes. They use this to help spread the information about the science part, the traditional science part. But what they also do is actually tell stories around constellations and that they observe with the telescope. So that's a way of ensuring that we do not lose out on knowledge that existed before our telescopes could actually view the universe the way we view it now. And I would say that even this exhibition is really a little bit of bringing that into, you know, where these beautiful paintings are not just based on what has come out of telescopes, but they are also based on the interpretation of what those celestial bodies mean to the people that are portraying them on their paintings. So yeah, I mean, I think that continuing to marry these two, heritage, indigenous knowledge and the traditional science will always just enrich everybody's experience of what science is.
Thank you very much, Ponzo, on that. You know, as we're having this conversation, Ponzo, as you're sharing around the astro guides and the work that's happening at SARAO with regards to that, I think one of the important, terms you keep using, obviously, is the sharing of knowledge and indigenous knowledge. And so knowledge is very key, and the sharing of knowledge is very important. Remaining away, for instance, within my portfolio at SARAO is what we call science engagement, which speaks to actually sharing of that knowledge and how we share that knowledge. But before we get to science engagement and the knowledge that industry shares, there's the education system. Now, I think, Lesego, you know where I'm heading with this question around the education system that we have, and probably general criticism that will get around how our education system doesn't prepare our children for the world in which they're going to enter into. Firstly, is that really true? And if so, what strides are we actually taking in preparing the young adults, in fact, they're not children, young adults, to be ready for industry so that when they step into the SARAOs, the SKAOs, they're actually ready to be practically trained on the knowledge that has been poured into them. Where are we? I'm going to probably touch with the higher education system in preparing our young adults for industry.
I think a lot has been done. You know, yes, there's a lot of challenges within the higher education system and also basic education system in terms of resources, infrastructure, and so forth. But a lot has been done in terms of perhaps, for example, service learning, where students are being taken to the field to learn about the various occupations. We have career days where students are able to engage with professionals in various fields to learn about those professions. And as well, I think there's also the element of the practicality. You know, this is not just about theory and you know, learning the different theories within the discipline, but also how are you able to apply it. There's a lot of disciplines that are having a more applied approach towards teaching and learning and towards the curriculum design as well, which I think is very important.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for that, Sylvia. So we've been speaking of formal education, and there's been redesign, and you've been speaking. Lesego's been telling us about the progress made. So you work with young people when it came to a lot of young people when it came to curating, or rather developing this art. And in your engagements and travels as an artist and as a storyteller, how has your experience been around their state of readiness to be economic contributors towards the nation? And where are some of those gaps, and what do you think we could actually do about them?
We started off with Lesego touching on the decolonization project that we're also involved in, and that's going to be a project beyond my lifetime and for generations to come, I feel. But one of the things that I find working with young people across Southern Africa is that we are ignoring something really big that they are dealing with that is unnamed, unrecognized, and that's the intergenerational trauma that has been passed on in this country. We see the impact, we see the violence statistics, we see the road deaths, we see the crime stats, but we don't acknowledge that, first of all, we're passing on generation after generation historic trauma. And that has to be dealt with. And when we don't deal with it, we see it coming, resurfacing again and again, generations after the other. But what we've also found is that while it's going to take our colleagues in education a long time to Africanize our education systems and to deal with these issues that are so pressing in our society, the arts can deal with an issue just like that. It can touch the hearts of people very quickly and very easily. It takes a few months to make a film or write a play or write a book. And if it's properly done and it is art that penetrates the heart of the matter, it changes people in the audience, it changes people who watch the film. So I think what we should do is that we should have a much more closer collaboration between intellectual exploration and scholarship in the mainstream universities and artistic endeavors that really touch people's hearts.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Sylvia. You know, you touched on intergenerational trauma, and that is not something we talk about. A lot of the times, there's a book that came out that spoke, it was called The Anxious Generation, and we're talking about how with each generation we're getting weaker and weaker, and we're not as strong as the previous generation. And have we actually looked at the root cause of this? That why are we getting weaker with each generation? Why are we more traumatized with each generation? And you've triggered on something that one probably has not even considered. So as we're having this conversation, because what you're talking about now, if we keep passing on things, and that may be probably one of the reasons we're facing what we're facing. We've got a lot of youth unemployment. We've got a lot of kids not sure on the directions that they will be taking in their lives. There's a lot of community damage that has happened in that environment. So I'm going to steal your mic, Sylvia, and I'm going to hijack Ms. Makubo, who's sitting in the audience, and solely because she looks after the community engagement. And I would like to bring us back to some of the work Nomfundo, that you and your team are actually doing within the community of Carnarvon in order for us to drive the socio-economic development agenda. And I know it's not limited just to science, it's also a whole lot, it's a holistic approach. So if you can tell us slightly, what are you guys doing within that community?
This is a very dangerous request because I get paid to talk about this stuff. And I recognize, of course, that we have limited time. I think really mine is to say that we understand the context of the Northern Cape very well, and that we're dealing with so many intersectional challenges in terms of poverty. So we say that everything that is high should be low. Everything that should be low is high. Everything that should be high is low. Education, inequality, poverty, I mean the dependency rate, you have 60% of people depending on a very small percentage of people in terms of income, in terms of food. You have, alcoholism, and fetal alcoholism, and what that means for the ability to actually realize the development that does come, as little as it is. And of course, we're an observatory, and we have a mandate, and we have Treasury that's standing behind us and saying, you need to pull the telescope. And we say, oh yes, but of course, we have to deal with these issues. And I spoke a bit about this in the beginning, where I said that the people have always been at the center of the project. So we are a mandate-driven organization. From a South African point of view, we are given mandate by Treasury, and we're supposed to build the telescope, and so is the SKO and their member countries. But what we have done, which sometimes, again, we say, we apologize, but we still do it, because it is good, is that, again, the Human Capacity Development Program is really robust. We have now introduced an early childhood development aspect to it, because we see that from early childhood development, there's a very big gap in terms of gross motor skills, fine motor skills, the things that enable children to actually learn and take up, you know, whatever it is that comes with that. So we have a Montessori program that we've now rolled out into 6 ECD centers in the 4 towns that we work with. Just the other day on Mandela Day, we got a really cool donation from our partners. We went to others to say, we're going to have a building here that's really not up to standard. Can we have it replaced? And we had good partners in collaboration with the SKO, Zutari, CSG, the food contractor, and a number of other people that donated it to replace that as part of this ECD program. Again, I spoke about this broad ECD to postdoc program, but we have a schools program just for children in the Northern Cape only that has artisan trainees. We have 115, 120 people that we've trained. And when we say people, I actually mean my colleagues. So the IT person that fixes my laptop, the person that is operating the telescope, the mechanicians, the instrumentation team, the operations team, all of those people are people from the Northern Cape. And we spoke about this as being the whole principle around building your own timber. So you have to plant your own trees so you can build your own houses if you're in the United States and build with timber. Nevertheless, this is part of what we've done. We have programs, undergrad bursaries that we give really at mass to try and address this critical skills shortage in the country. At a time, because I run the community engagement office, we have community meetings all the time. Can you believe it? We actually go to the community and ask them, what's your problem with us? They say, you have done A, B, and C, or you have not done A, B, C, and we say, sure, let's sort it out. And what we've done with that is we've said, we've come back to the organization and we gave Poncho a very difficult job of going to explain to the CEO of the NRF that we need non-STEM bursaries. As a STEM-based organization, we've said, we actually need non-STEM bursaries that are going to also address the social ills in the community. And then, we kind of wrote a number of things. We asked the comms head to spin it a bit. And we came back with 5 bursaries in the first run that are based at Solplaiki University. And why that? Because there's also the understanding that people in the Northern Cape sometimes have a difficulty, Aanpas. Wat is aanpas in Engels? Adapting, thank you. Adapting to Johannesburg and Cape Town and so forth. So bringing them to a university that feels more like home may or may not, but it may have, give them a better chance of actually getting through the process and again, contributing to this investment that we're doing. So these are some of the things that we do. Again, I can spend an entire day talking about our community development program. Please find me. But really it is, again, to illustrate the commitment. And this, again, Cosmic Echoes is, again, part of this, that we're saying the people are at the heart of this project.
Thank you. Don't move, Nomfundo, so you may stay seated there. So what I know I keep hijacking people. So Nomfundo has given us the SARAO context around what it is that needs to be done, that if you're a science organization, it doesn't mean that you're stuck in science. We believe in holistic development because the human being is holistic. Whether it's the planet, it's the people, or the actual core technology in business, it's very important. And we partner, obviously, with SKO around this. And what SKO does, then it's got a whole lot of member countries. So what I'm curious about, Lindsay, on your part is, how then do you guys come and bring this together? You can come right here, over here, Lindsay, and bring this together globally, around bringing this together globally on how you then impact the communities within the SKAO member countries that you are bringing into this environment.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk about that. It's astronomy as an international endeavor has had some bad decisions that it's made in the past. We talk about sort of decolonizing our education system. There's been a huge amount of work to decolonize astronomy because astronomy was always an endeavor funded by a small group of people that went into places that were ideal for doing astronomy, and typically places that are ideal for doing astronomy are in the midst of culturally sensitive areas. And with no regard for those cultural sensitive areas, facilities were established and programs were established without any recognition of what was going on in that area. And interestingly, this came to a head a few years ago, where a major new astronomy facility was effectively stopped because that community hadn't taken the time to engage with local people and find out what it meant to them and what the impact was in terms of this very sensitive area. And so I think that as a STEM activity, it is an activity that realizes that although we're looking up and we're using this fantastic technology, we're doing it in the space of the indigenous culture where we do it. And so all of our 16 members have strong emphasis on the activities that we do in countries. And bear in mind that we're building the 2 telescopes, one here in South Africa and the other telescope in Australia. There is a huge amount of pressure being put on us in country to ensure that we do recognize the impact that the activities have. And so it's written into the DNA of the organization to not only build and operate this world-class telescope, but to do it in a way that benefits the society in which it operates. So if you go look at the founding document, the international convention that all these countries sign as their agreement to participate, those words appear there. Build and operate this transformational telescope that will answer these beautiful questions about the universe, but do it in a way that respects the society in which you do it. And I think a lot of international projects are looking at the kinds of work that people like Nomfundo are doing as the guidelines, the future blueprints for the way in which big technology and big science can operate in societies and benefit societies going forward.
Thank you very much, Lindsay. So I'd like to open this panel up to the floor quickly and just check, are there any questions, comments, contributions from the guys on the ground? Rogeria, please come through. Oh, Malalo, you're here. It's fine. If there's a hand over there, there's a hand over there. So let's do 1, 2, 3. So 1 is just here. I think there's a lady with the paper right there. Thank you.
Good morning to everyone, and good morning also again to Dr. Oma Katrina in the house. It's an honor to see you in real life, and thank you for your passion that you drive in the communities. I just want to link to what was said.
Introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm Glynis Darris. I'm from Saul Plaatje University, and I'm in the discipline of education, and more specifically early childhood education. So I also resonate with your passion, ma'am. I just want to ask also, in terms of the community that Oma Katrina comes from, in terms of our community that's 10 kilometers outside Kimberley Platfontein community, where some of our indigenous people and children and youngsters also grow up. I just want to find out, in education, early childhood education foundation phase, what can we do together as a university within the Northern Cape, and Mrs. Nomfundo, in terms of bursaries, bringing those young children, matriculants from those communities to study at Saul Plaatje University, for example, for an education degree in foundation phase, where these youngsters can take their language and preserve their language. Also, Oma Katrina, that's coming from a community, those youngsters in those communities, matriculants, grade 9s, 10s, 11, and really inspire them, and also saying to them, but here are bursaries, so that you can study at this university. And the university also has planned to expand on our languages, but also that they can come in here, and here's a program where we can incorporate not just the straight curriculum that we're doing or the curriculum that we implement, but also through conversational language, bring in these indigenous languages so that languages can be preserved in education through early childhood education and foundation phase. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Before we respond, we'll take the second and the third question.
Dumelang, leina la me ke Obakeng Jacobs. I'm from Jan Kempdorp in the Northern Cape. I'm also a registered student in this beautiful university. I'm not sure, Melissa, you know, I'm going to make comments because the places where this amazing project is located. But first, let me rectify my mistake. I would like to say that we are truly honored and blessed to be sitting with a living ancestor, Me Katrina SARAO. Not everyone has this opportunity in their life. You know, so I've been to these places. Carnarvon, Pontyhevel in Carnarvon, Van Wyksvlei, Brandvlei, I've been there. I've seen what is there. And it's not pleasant. And I'm pleased to also hear that there are also bursaries outside STEM. But it's tragedy in those places, ladies and gentlemen. Particularly Carnarvon. When you enter Carnarvon, there's a shock that you get. I've never felt like that. I come from a very poor community myself. But when I entered Carnarvon, you get a shock of your life. Is this really happening here in this time we're living in? The poverty, the alcohol abuse, you know, the dispossession. But my point is here on the issue of land. As we are talking about access, you're talking about the role of women. The women in these communities, some of them, they are displaced, dispossessed. Young women, they have nothing other than to rely on contractors to this project who come there to do work. For instance, Van Wyksvlei, I'm sure you are familiar with Van Wyksvlei. It's 100 kilometers away from Carnarvon. And that road, it's gravel road, bad road. There's no development there. And I'm just wondering, as we are advancing in science endeavors, are we aware that, you know, Camilca Cabral talked about people really are preoccupied, you know, they're not really preoccupied by ideas. It's the material, is what's on top of the table. How is the gap in access being closed by SARAO, by SKAO in that particular community? Van Wyksvlei is a disaster. Lastly, on the issues of language and access and what the university is doing, our university is fairly new, but still resembles traditional universities in outlook. Because even access here is difficult. It took me 5 years to get here. 5 years. So now, when we talk about how are we going to change, how are we going to improve access, let us remember 2015. We, as a generation, fought on the streets of Braamfontein saying that free decolonized education. To this day, we haven't reached that. How are we going to access the spaces of SARAO and all of that if education is not free and decolonized in the first place? Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm gonna ask that we do try and keep them short so that we manage time and we get actually to the actual points. It's coming through to you. Thank you very much, Mulalu.
I think it's 12 already, yes. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aisha Vatboy. I am a student at Salt Lake University. First of all, I would just like to honor Oma Katrina. We've always heard about her, but we've never seen her in person. So thank you very much for coming, and I hope all protocols are observed. My first question is, as a digital youth that we are, I would just like to ask, how do us as the young people can incorporate and transfer knowledge of culture while bearing in mind through digital platforms and etc., but not losing the essence of culture and language itself. And also, as a third-year archaeology student, we are currently focusing on rock art, and also in first semester we did the evolution of human theory. So I would just like to ask, like, what are the advices or methodologies that you would follow? Because sometimes the science that we're studying is contradicting our belief systems. So I just wanted to know what kind of methods or what approaches do you use to make sure that the science that you are studying is not contradicting your belief systems, or your belief systems is not contradicting your work that you are doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So due to time constraints, we're going to ask that we respond to this set of questions. What we're going to do is there's going to be a networking opportunity afterwards. So if you want to speak to anyone from SARAO, Nomfundo, Rogeria, please show your face. There's Nomfundo, myself, and Rogeria, we're all part of the same. Rogeria is over there. We're all part of the same department that stakeholder management and dealing with community relations and stakeholder management. You can touch base with any one of the three of us, and we can have those conversations. Lindsay is from SKAO. He's also here. So let's please have those and continue those engagements. I will allow the panel to respond to the three colleagues, and then we're going to wrap it up and have those questions one-on-one. So I'm going to open it up to the floor. Nomfundo, you have a stab at it first.
I'll probably address the first question and the second question. The first question is, there's so much that's happening already. I happen to sit on a lot of the panels for the Human Capacity Development Program, where we have bursaries that, are available. And we found that actually we have more bursaries than people applying. And we've gone on, in the last cycle, we had to reopen, we had to ask management to extend the call so that we do another roadshow sweep in all the towns to ensure that students actually apply. So I think that what we could do on a practical level is that we could increase that communication gap. I did speak about Dr. Dimple from the chemistry department, and she comes with, from math, yes, she comes with, I forgot his name, he has a big broad smile. Dr. Shabalala. They come to Carnarvon, for instance, and then what we could do is just make sure that the information on the available opportunities is just, circulating through here as well. And if there's a child from the Northern Cape, generally the panel jumps for joy. So I think that's on a practical level. The second part about Carnarvon and Van Wyksvlei, again, I started by saying that the context of that area is that everything that is low is high, and everything that is high is low. I lived in Carnarvon for 4 years. So I used to say, when I describe to people, I say, we don't even have traffic lights. We have one speed hump in Carnarvon. And the reason why we do all of this is because the organization was trying to answer the very question of development that you're asking. We've always been asking the question. We've had studies that try and determine what is it that we should do given the resources that we have. What's the thing that's going to give us the best shots? And the research keeps coming back to two things: education and healthcare. We cannot address healthcare directly as such because we are mandate driven. But the investment that we've done in education is the part of the long walk to that. And we have, done that, and we will continue to do that, is the short answer that I can give. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Nomfundo. And then Lesego.
I think the point that Obakeng was raising is very important. I think we need to do more as an institution in terms of, and also other organizations and the community, in terms of addressing a lot of the social ills that we have in our societies. We have a lot of social issues here in Kimberley as well that we really need to address, because that also speaks to access to education, and it also speaks to some of the challenges that we're experiencing, such as high dropout rates. So we need to address these issues of poverty, of inequalities, of alcoholism, and a host of other socioeconomic issues. And I think in terms of the government as well, there needs to be a more concerted effort and the political will to addressing the systemic and structural issues that affect every institution within society. And then just to also just revert back to the previous question, sorry, Melissa. I think also just drawing from what this project is also doing, I think as an education system, we also need to do more transdisciplinary, interdisciplinary work. I think we speak about it a lot, but we're not really doing it in terms of teaching and learning, in terms of research. Ms. Silva is like emphasizing the importance of arts, and we're not really doing that in our disciplines. We're just teaching in our silos and producing students that are just focused on just their discipline and not really wanting to solve societal issues. You know, we need to focus more on this graduate attributes that we talk about. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I know that there was a question around how what we get taught at school and if it's conflicting with some of our heritage and some of our belief systems, etc. Would you like to have a go at it? Lindsay, please.
Yeah, so I'm going to have a stab at this from my own personal perspective, and I don't know if it'll add any clarity to the kind of the question. So in my world, I'm a trained scientist. I've learned my understanding of how the universe evolved. It involves a story of a big cosmic event that happened billions of years ago, and so the universe unfolded. I use my senses to observe this, and I've come to that understanding that what I see and what I measure fits with this understanding that I have. How do I balance that with my own personal belief system, which in this case is the traditional Christian belief system? Well, I don't try and force the two to be together because they don't have to be together, because in my mind, the science asks how things happen, and my religious beliefs speak to why we do it. Why do I want to be a better person? Why do I want to interact with my culture, my community the way that I do? Because of my personal beliefs. That's why I do what it does. And the studies that I do in terms of understanding how the universe evolved don't impact why I treat my fellow person the way that I treat my fellow person and the belief system that I use to do that. So that's my personal perspective of how I'm able to make that balance of this, what seems to be a very different perspective. They can actually live very comfortably together in allowing you to follow your beliefs and ask inquiring questions to how everything fits together. So I don't know if that gives you the answer you're looking for, but it's just my perspective.
Thank you very much for that, Lindsay. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our panel discussion. We've had to really wrap it up. But I must say what's been important is the engagement around various issues that affect us. Bonzo has spoken about the resilience that one requires to be in that workspace and environment, and it's practical practice. It's not something that's taught in a textbook. You have to experience, we have to go through it. Like how a diamond is made or gold is made, everything goes through the fire and a whole lot of pressure, and we just have to be able to go on, but having the right support systems to assist us with that. We've spoken about the indigenous languages and indigenous knowledge and the importance of having those within the science environment, and that is actually not lost. They still exist. We've spoken about art being an expression on its own and language on its own and its importance thereof. And lastly, we've spoken on the social and economic environment. And on that note, we will now wrap up. We just want to thank all our panelists for participating in this engagement. So we're going to take a quick photo shoot and we say thank you very much, Sylvia. Let's give Sylvia a round of applause. We thank Lesego and we give Lesego a warm round of applause. I don't know if we should be giving Lindsay, because Lindsay is part of SARAO, and we give Lindsay a warm round of applause. On that note. So thank you very much to all our distinguished panelists. You can go back to your original seats, and thank you very much. And quickly hijacking the program, we are now quickly going to get a word from our MD. But before MD comes in, we need a bit of zhuzh. And I cannot sing, so you will help me. I don't know if you know this song. Igama lama khosikazi malibongwe. Igama lama khosikazi malibongwe. Malibongwe, Malibongwe, Malibongwe. Bonzo, if you can do our quick thank you from SARAO.
I just wanted to thank Salt Lake University for providing this fantastic venue for this event. I also, you can hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to thank Salt Lake University, the leadership, for affording us an opportunity to not only host the exhibition there, but also to host this event today. I have enjoyed every aspect itself, and I hope that the audience has also enjoyed being there. I would also like to thank the SKO, our partners in this exciting adventure of building the world's largest telescope. I think that as much as not everything has turned out, you know, in the way people expect when you have such a big project in the province, I do think that we are making really small steps towards having a much bigger impact on the Northern Cape, and some initial assessments of our socio-economic impact indicate that already. I do look forward to us establishing a ongoing bigger relationship with the university, and I also would like to thank Oma for being there. I don't know if she's still in the room. I really just appreciate even the engagement, the input that she made, but also the wonderful singing that happened as part of that engagement. I think that has been really quite exciting. The students in the room, I just want to say that you know, the key to South Africa's future is really sitting with you guys. We would like to see you, you know, not only limit yourself to whatever you're studying right now. This country needs your energy, it needs your talents, it needs your total engagement. You know, as much as we, you know, we've spoken about this intergenerational trauma that exists, but I also think with that, there's also a lot of really great ideas that young people have seen, you know, embarking on trying to solve the problems of this country. We now have technologies that can help with spreading knowledge better. We have technologies that can help with, you know, and strengthening and re-establishing our traditions and languages. And we are really looking to you towards doing that, and we will provide the support that's needed for accomplishing that. So thank you to everyone. I hope you all enjoy the exhibition and the lunch and the networking. And please, for those who are traveling, travel safely. And thank you very much for attending this event.
Thank you very much, Ponzo. Before, Ponzo, you run off, just a quick reminder, if the VC can come up, on behalf of my MD, would like to hand over this gift. She's up on the screen, but she can't be with us physically. So we'd like to thank you so much, VC, as Ponzo has said. Thank you. Thank you very much, Sylvia.
Wonderfully moderated, Melissa. Excellent job, as always. Big round of applause for Melissa Kentani, Director of Communication at SARAO. The closing word, die kos en drank is daar, mense. Ons gaan dit nou geniet. En asseblief tog, loop rond, kyk die kuns, Junior Olifant, ons kunstenaar of note sit daar. Wat ek like van Junior is, hy is nie net 'n fine arts man nie, maar hy is ook 'n tattoo artist. Dis 'n wonderlike kombinasie vir my. So praat met hom, praat met almal hierso en geniet die kos en drank en die kuns. Maar voor ons loop, a closing word from the Director of Institutional Advancement at Salt Lake University, Ms. Kashini Maestri.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, it's good afternoon already. It's always wonderful to see such a diverse crowd, and that's one of the hallmarks of our events here. So thank you for joining us. As this event draws to a close, we extend our sincere gratitude to you for your presence here today at the opening of the Cosmic Echoes Art Exhibition, and for joining us to honor Her Excellency Queen Katrina Esau, our living human treasure. It has been truly an inspiring morning filled with the echoes of creativity and the vibrant energy of our community coming together to celebrate art and a phenomenal woman. To our partners, the Square Kilometre Array Observatory and the South African Radio Astronomy Observatory, thank you for entrusting the exhibition to Salt Lake University before it embarks on its global journey. We extend our deepest appreciation to the artists for sharing their talent and vision. We are particularly pleased that almost all of the South African Indigenous artists are from the Northern Cape. None of this would have been possible without the dedication and hard work of many individuals. We thank the curators and organizers for their meticulous planning and execution, to the speakers and panelists for their engaging insights, and to each of you for your active participation. I want to convey special thanks to Prudence Kelly, who was the linchpin in pulling all of this off. As always, thank you to my wonderful team, including our colleagues in AV, for consistently going the extra mile. As you leave here today, we encourage you to carry these cosmic echoes with you. Let the art continue to resonate, sparking conversations and inspiring new perspectives. We invite you to further engage with the exhibition, share your thoughts, and become ambassadors for the powerful messages. Thank you for making this day a resounding success, and I hope you enjoy the exhibition. Thank you.